And good morning. All right, we finished the arithmetic synopsis. We have finished the geometry synopsis. So we're going to take a slight break, sort of, off of math, kind of, for a couple of days and do something different. So I want you to look in your book on page 400 at the bottom at section 21.3. We're going to look at a man named Johann Kepler. You may have heard of him before. You may have studied him before. I don't know. So today we're going to look at the life of the famous mathematician and scientist whose work changed history. This mathematician's life both provides an example of math in action, and it's resplendent with lessons we can apply in our own lives. Known as the discoverer of the laws of planetary motion, Johann Kepler proposed that the planets circle the sun in elliptical orbits, basically in ovals, rather than in circular orbits as previously thought. Although often thought of as a scientist, Kepler was also a mathematician. In his study of planetary motion, Kepler used extensive math, including geometry, and while we can now quickly read about his discovery in the pages of history, the discovery took him years and a long journey. So if you'll look there at page 401, I'm not going to bore you and read this to you, but I'm going to let you read the rest of this. Now, this is the beginnings of Johann Kepler, a little bit more about him, his beliefs on page 402. It goes all the way down to the end of 402 where it says conclusion. So your assignment today is going to be to read about Johann Kepler. Now, that's not the end of your assignment. If you'll take your worksheet out and look at page worksheet 21.3 right quick. Look at 21.3. It's on page 323. Now, on this page, at the top, on part 1, A and B, you're just going to answer some questions about Johann Kepler based on what you're reading in here. Part 2 is an assignment. It's a report assignment. And I'm not going to read too much of this, but basically what you're going to do is you are going to think of a career that you would be interested in, and then you need to research that career as best you can. If you don't have access to the internet, that's fine. You can ask people maybe that might be involved, and you need to find out how you would use math every day in that career. Now, my career, you might say, is a stay-at-home mom. And do I use math? Yes, I use math. I balance a checkbook weekly. I pay bills. I set a budget. I measure in the kitchen. Figure out how much gasoline is going to go in the van. We went on vacation, so I had to figure in advance how much each thing's going to cost, how much money to set aside for this. So there's a lot of different things. Of course, if I paint a room, you need to measure and figure out that. So you think of a career that you might like to do, and you're going to have to write a report on it. Now, I'm not sure even if this tells you how long it needs to be. It doesn't need to be more than a page long. It says pick a career that you'd like to learn more about and then research how math is used in it. For example, a veterinarian might have to measure out medicine for a dog or figure out what dose of medicine a small puppy versus a large lab would need. It says to ask your parent or teacher for ideas. You might try looking online, ask a librarian, someone at church or that you know works in the field that you've chosen, or even visit or call someone that you don't know from that field and ask them how they use math. Just explain to them what you're doing and ask if it's okay, obviously to ask them questions. Every career uses math to some extent or another. So keep asking until you find some examples. So today, it says today pick your career and do some initial research. And it says your report is due on the day you take your final exam, which is true. So basically, the end of next week is when your report will be due. Now, this is not like a big, huge research paper. I don't want all the, notes and that kind of stuff. But I do just want a final paper. And I'll give it an English grade, and I'll give it a math grade as well. So, when it comes to the English, make sure your grammar and your sentences and spelling and all that kind of stuff is good. So, and you should know the writing process. The first thing you do is you brainstorm, you do your research, jot down notes, organize your notes. That's the best thing to do. Organize those notes. And then make a rough draft, okay? and make sure you skip lines on your rough draft. It makes it easier to go back. Then you go back and revise it, proofread it, change it up. Use a different color pen when you mark it so you'll know. When it's all the way you want it to be, read it out loud to yourself. Read it out loud to somebody else. Look in the mirror as you read it out loud. Listen for errors. Listen for things that you could change. And then write your final copy. Or you can type it. Doesn't matter to me. If you type it, you can email it to me. It doesn't matter. I'd like for it to be about a page long. And it won't be due until next week. So, and next week you'll also be working on some math because we're going to be doing some reviews. So, but anyway, that's what you're going to do now. That's your assignment to get started on for today. And that will be all for today.
Yes!